You've seen Apple's smooth 3D UI animation? Well, with DaVinci Resolve, I'm going to do it with no plugins, nothing that you don't have within your DaVinci Resolve. So with that being said, all the links for this animation are going to be in the description, so you can have the assets as well and follow along. So pay attention and let's get it, because you guys are definitely going to improve after this video. Mark my words. So I'm not going to waste any time. If you guys do enjoy the video, don't subscribe because I fucking hate that. But let's see how this goes. So this is Illustrator, right? And I'm just individually selecting, certain aspects of my image and exporting it as a PNG. Good news for fucking you guys. I actually got all the assets for you guys. This took me like 2 hours to do because this was my first time doing Illustrator and take out all the components by themselves and separate it from the main image and blah, blah, blah. That's essentially what I did here with Illustrator, and then I exported everything out as a PNG. So really quick, I'm just making it into a 3D model. As you guys can see, the image render, the camera 3D, and then the image plane. This is one aspect of the UI, right? If any of you guys run on Mac or anything, you guys know that has a little side HUD and then a background. You guys want to do a slight tint of the background being white and gray. There's just a subtle aspect in which makes it resemble the concept of a Mac UI. But as you can see right here, I start now throwing everything onto the canvas or whatever for DaVinci Resolve. Usually with this, people don't need to get confused. It's very simple. I'm making this really, really simple for you guys. So we're doing image planes and we're just adjusting it, throwing all the PNGs up onto the timeline or the node area and just literally resembling the Mac UI. And from there, we're just going to throw in a bunch of animations. And that's the goal, right? The whole point of this is for you guys to learn step by step. Usually when I got into DaVinci Resolve, especially with the Fusion tab, it was a mind fuck for sure. But I happened to change that for you guys for God knows what reasons. Honestly, I had to suffer so you don't. So it is what it is. But right here, we're just adjusting the round curvatures of the corner of the rectangle. So what I did was just run an image plane, a background to resemble the background of the Mac UI. And then I ran a rectangle node. So you would be able to morph, the background into the way you want to. Just please keep in mind, anything dealing with being rectangle and such, you just want to create it yourself. Don't try to, copy it through a PNG or whatever. There's no reason to. But as you guys can see, now I'm just doing the top HUD or UI aspect. So really quick, I know this is off track, but it honestly bothers me that there's YouTubers that don't even know DaVinci Resolve Fusion, and they do DaVinci Resolve concepts and YouTube videos, but they make Fusion so complicated. They'll add 3 additional nodes to do one simple animation that only needs 1 node, and they do the layout so differently and it fucks up everything and you don't know which node to put before what. But luckily in this video, I'm gonna make everything so simple for you guys. So every image plane, an image plane is a node that essentially puts something into a 3D space. You merge it into a merge 3D and that's it. You merge everything into a merge 3D. That is it. Put your PNG into your image plane, and then as you can see on the top left of the screen, there's a 3D space and you're able to adjust everything as it is, right? So I'm just literally spamming a bunch of image planes and then putting the PNG into the image plane. And from this aspect, I'm just replicating the Mac UI, putting all the PNGs together essentially near each other into resembling a 2D space. Because if you make it too 3D, like you put it too far away from the background, like those little icons, for example, when you do the camera angles, it'll look like weird. It'll look actually too 3D. That's not how Mac UIs work, right? So you can make this pop out in a different way, of course, but we're gonna stick to a 2D space concept. So right now, what we're doing though is a slide smooth bounce animation. I'll give you guys this preset. And you guys are going to slowly improve over time, especially watching my videos. Honestly, me making these videos made me grow in my skill set for sure. But don't let the keyframe aspect confuse you. I have a whole video on that. Yes, you guys can check it out. But keyframes, for example, are just when the animation occurs. But at this point in the video, I really hope that you guys are skillful animators, or at least people that know basic fundamentals like, keyframe, splines, all this stuff, because I don't want to keep repeating myself. So if you guys do want to know anything about keyframes, splines, and such, I have videos on that. But anyways, so now I ended up just doing all the animations for the columns in a timely manner. That's the whole point right now. So did an animation going down to up, and I adjusted the opacity for each column. And what we're doing now is, as you guys could see on the dark Mac UI gray area on the left side, you guys could see that I'm adjusting the little columns like application, recent, and airdrop. These don't need to be complicated. You're just adjusting the opacity. That's it. That is it. Like, sometimes simple is best, because making things over the top or making quick animations are actually the dumbest. What I realized is you want meaningful, long animations. So sometimes you're trying to make an animation and you're trying to make it quick, fast. No, you want meaningful, long animations. So it's not dopamine driven and you're not trying to brain rot people, but instead it's meaningful. And those are actually the ones that catches people's eyes. So that should be your main goal. So I'm just adjusting the column and how things should be about. So at this point, I realized I'm missing the iCloud text column. So I ended up doing an image plane, ended up doing a text, and put iCloud, because there's a whole iCloud area. It's slightly grayed out, so I adjusted the color, and I didn't want to overcomplicate everything. Once again, simple is best. So, and I ended up adding an opacity to it. So when you're running the animation, everything just looks like it's subtly, coming into frame or showing from opacity going to 100. And it just made sense. I could have made it flashy, but once again, no need to. So I'm looking, rendering it, because I literally can't play it on my computer. My computer struggles. Looks perfect, looks smooth. I like it. And now we're going to get into the 3D camera animation. At this point, you want to keyframe everything at square zero. Like straight up, keyframe everything at 0, the start of the animation, and then you're going to fast forward to all the way to the end. So hypothetically, maybe 200 frames. You're going to keyframe again of where you want it to end. And then in between those frames, you do your animation. So really quick, while doing these 3D animations, I'm just going to go into the keyframe tab and adjust the keyframes. It's legit not as complicated as what you guys think, and then just smooth out all the splines so it looks smooth. That is it. All I did with the camera animation is I literally zoomed out, went back in, and then zoomed into the left side of the screen. And of course, the corner of the box, what we did was, I think I showed it already, but we just increased the size of the corner edge of the Mac UI. So then it could slowly transition into the ChatGPT color scheme. And once you have that, it should go very easy into the transition. Also, when you're doing the full screen, the white background screen, when it's going to transition into the ChatGPT screen, you just want to put a keyframe to the color option of the rectangle node, or the background node, my bad. And what that's going to do, you just do a transition when it's full screen, it transitions into the gray ChatGPT background. And what I just did here, by the way, you guys saw me go to the timeline and cut it. It was because, or you could duplicate it. Essentially what I did was, the second it went to the background transition node and it went to a dark gray screen, I ended up just deleting all the nodes, so I don't need to do a crazy animation with 800 nodes on it onto the Fusion tab. But instead, I just cut the Fusion composition or made another one, and then you could start fresh, just have the rectangle node. Does that make sense? Because you're better off not doing 500 nodes in an animation, man. You're going to make it too complicated, especially when you want to go back and adjust animations and keyframes and such. It makes it disgusting. And right here, I am doing now the components for ChatGPT. We're just going to throw them in a 3D space. And once you guys have the 3D space there, I think you guys should all know, like, any UI is essentially just a bunch of PNGs in a 3D space and animating them. That's it. That's the rule of thumb. And as you guys see on screen, by the way, I added those other 3 components. I literally just did a slide, which means I put a keyframe from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen, throw on motion blur, you're good. And then the UI on the top left will just opacity delays. So the first one, occurs first of the opacity to the last one in the column. So, and that's just the simple way to do it. For the bottom left though, I also did the opacity but additionally did a slide from top to bottom. So the first one appears, but then the last one appears the latest, but slides are the latest as well. So it's a very simple animation, or many of you guys probably have like slide presets and such. You can throw those on there. You'll be perfectly fine. Because people aren't going to notice these when your main objective is like Mac UI animating or any type of intense animations. People don't really understand opacity like that. They just show what's happening on screen and that's it. They're going to notice the little button on the left that's opacity is increasing to 100%. There's no point. Yeah, people don't really notice these small things. You know, they only focus on the main animation. But as you guys can see here, I'm just trying to slowly delay the opacity once again and have a slide animation. That's it. Very simple. Once you guys start animating really intense and follow this way through and get better with keyframes and splines and knowing when keyframes should happen and not, you start realizing that you're able to do any animation. What makes you a good editor is actually thinking outside the box to present what the influencer is saying or what you're saying in your videos. That's what makes you a good editor. So keep that in mind. And once you get these down, you'll get really, really well put. I think once I mastered this exact concept of video, as in the Mac UIs, that's when my animations perfected. Like truly, this video perfected my animations in real time. Because it made me do delayed opacity, made me do complex animations, you know, camera animations that had to be really complex. And it was very confusing as sometimes, like straight up, I would forget a keyframe in my, you know, camera animating, and it would take me 30 minutes to do one simple animation. So this is when you become a good editor. It's the tough times that make you great, honestly. So keep your head high and keep grinding, because that's how you fucking become good. Like, for example, the ChatGPT icon that I was doing right here, I just made a window. That's it. Like, guys, follow along. I know I haven't fast forwarded for obvious reasons, but you'll get the template. You'll understand the layout, but some things just are a lot better simple. I did a rectangle node with a mask. That's it. Made it simple, made it easy. And once again, if you haven't subscribed, go subscribe, because I cannot stress this enough. This is when you become better. Doing the Mac UI, because you have so many components to animate, to understand the 3D camera, the lens, the transitions. This is when I became better. So hopefully you do too. You know, stand up like I did for you guys. As always, man, I always try to make sure I get the best type of tutorials out there at the most simplistic concepts, because a lot of people make it confusing. Not a lot of DaVinci Resolve users use even Fusion, let alone YouTubers. So hopefully I'm that guy that changes it all and, you know, gives you the layout. So comment down below what type of UIs or even type of animations that you guys want me to replicate. And hopefully from there on, I make it very simple and easy for you guys. But right here, we're just doing components, by the way, because I'm looking at the screen right now. We're just doing a bunch of components of text, and there's simple things that I didn't have. For example, the text for the chat, because I forgot about that. So I had to put my own text node and had to throw that on there. Sometimes you want glows, but not on everything. As you can see here, I only have the glow on the ChatGPT icon because I wanted that to pop. And it just makes sense. You don't want everything glowing. But once again, we're adding all these components that shows the chat boxes for ChatGPT essentially. So once you get that done, you are just legit going to add opacity keyframes to all the boxes. Once you guys start animating, once again, opacity is going to be your greatest friend. So you just throw opacity on every single one, have them all delay and appear slowly throughout the animation. It should look something like this. So it's very simple, easy, and everything appears slowly and still moving. So as big as the animation is, the main animation of the whole UI, I still have components moving subtly. Because it makes sense. It makes it smooth, delicate, nice. And last but not least, we finally get into the 3D camera animation. Please, guys, pay attention to every little thing. When you first start off, you want to throw a keyframe on your first frame, like where the animation will start. Look, so right there, I set a keyframe because I was getting confused. Like, yo, what the hell's going on? Why is my shit so weird? It was because I had no set point. So this is a mistake that will most likely happen even if you're experienced, man. But eventually you'll realize this is like the fundamentals. So I ended up just running a keyframe, and I want to get to an angle. I want to use the pivot target, which, as you guys can see on the right of the screen, I use target. And that was kind of bothering me. Sometimes I do everything manually. Smoothed out the keyframe, want to see how it looks. I just zoomed in and went to an angle. Subtle, clean. because you guys don't want to overcomplicate it. I set all the keyframes on that point and then started doing another animation. So I fast forwarded, 50 frames, even more, just so the animation could look smoother and kind of point at a different direction. Because I want this 3D animation to look very long. So we play it out, boom, zoom in, and then zoom out, and it looks so jittery. And this will happen to a lot of you guys. I think everyone that wants 3D animations struggle at that point. So once you start figuring things out, I started playing with the key spline to smooth out everything. Because once again, you highlight everything, press S, it'll smooth it out, but it'll adjust the animation slightly. So went back in there, adjusted the splines, and now I'm adjusting the keyframes of when the tilt should happen. So I'm trying to figure out a little median spot of when the tilt should happen. Okay, I feel like I should delay certain things. So I grabbed one, boom. And I'm like, kind of like it. It's not bad, but I want it quicker. So literally the ending part of the animation, I held everything, made it quicker. So look, really quick, and went to that exact type of animation fairly quick. Look, boom. Look at that. A lot of things where people start putting their hands on the keyframe tab, they get confused of what I just did. It's very simple. Once again, it's when the animation occurs and you highlight it and you adjust it as you go. Literally, like, it's very simple. So as we go on, I like the animation. I like where it's going. And I just had to make sure I keyframed everything, because this is now the ending before the pivoting. So you keyframe every time you change up an area. So I keyframed everything, and now I want to point it at the chatgpt. So this is the goal right now. Boom. So let's see how it works, or how it looks, I guess, because I wanted it to look subtle. Look at that. It looked nasty. It looked weird. So I'm like, what the hell? I was using the target, the pivot target. So I'm looking, once again, looks janky, looks sloppy. Got to smooth out all the angles. But I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. Please, guys, when you're doing this, don't get intimidated. It's just keyframe after keyframe. It's like a simple 2D animation, but you have a lot more accesses involved. That's it, straight up. At this point, I really do know for a fact that a lot of you guys watching this are at least familiar of the 3D animating. You just struggle to make it somewhat smooth. I have a whole video on that. Go check out the link down below. I think you guys will absolutely love that video. Make it very simple and easy to replicate all this. So main overview is get a UI, separate all the PNGs, put them in a 3D space, animate them, and get your 3D camera animation on point. If you guys don't have that, sucks to suck. You got to learn it. So click on my recent videos that were taken 4 months ago, and shout out to the fucking 60 subscribers that I have, because y'all are real ones. And I wouldn't be posting once every 5 months for no reason. So shout out to you guys, bro. And if you guys did like the video, once again, go sub, because if I hit like 100, 200 subs or something, I might start actually posting legit. So love you guys once again. And yeah, man, comment down below what you guys want next.